What's up, YouTube garden fiends? In this video I'm going to show you how I pruned my pomegranate tree. This pomegranate tree is about 10 years old and it gives us so much fruit every year. What's going on though is that this section of the tree is growing into our walking path. To the left of the area that I'm working, we have our sub-irrigated planter garden, which we're planning on moving so that we have full access to our in-ground garden, which is right next to that. But I do want to clean up this pomegranate tree so that it's growing up and not really to the sides too much, because on both sides there's stuff that we need to get to. On the right hand side we have a garden, on the left hand side we have a garden, and then to the north of it there's a fig tree. So this tree has to grow up, it can't really grow out, and it is doing that, but we have some branches that are kind of growing out, and then it threw out some suckers that are gonna make it kind of very bushy. So that's what I'm doing this winter, pruning this tree. That was kind of the goal, is to clean up all around it so that it grows up. The best time to prune any tree is during the winter when they're dormant, especially trees that have heavy sap flow. For example, I'm sure many of you have seen trees being like mesquite trees being pruned in the summer when the sap is flowing, and they get the sidewalk super dirty with the sap, and they have to wrap up the wound, the open wound that the pruning it made. So that's kind of what you want to avoid with fruit trees. In my experience, like for example, this pomegranate, I can prune it any time of year and it's gonna be fine. It would be better to do it before it starts to put out new growth, so that you're training it to grow in the ways you want it to grow. Um, but it's not the biggest deal if you don't get to it. It is important that you do get to it though at some point before the fruit set. For example, my fig tree, we were not able to get to it this winter, and there are some branches that are in the way. So we're gonna go ahead and prune it when we have time, but it's gonna be kind of a light pruning. We're not gonna go all out, but this upcoming winter of 2022, my goal is to definitely prune up the fig tree really well. And part of the reason it got away from us is because we wanted to root the figs. So you kind of want to prune it towards the beginning of that transition between the winter and the spring. So it's kind of we missed the window, it got ahead of us, and we weren't able to prune it. But I was able to prune this pomegranate, which we really needed to do. The tools I like to use to prune my trees are loppers, a sawzall, a reciprocating saw, and some hand pruners, and that's all I use. All of the brush that I'm creating, I'm gonna chop it back down into smaller pieces that are gonna go into the basin that this tree is in. The really thick branches I will compost in our compost pile, and it's going to go into the compost pile that I'm trying to make a fungal dominant pile, right? So I'm going to have a pile that's kind of woody and brushy, and if I have too much of it, because I did create a lot of brush, then I'll kind of put it in the brush pilings that we have for cultivating mushrooms. It's important to remember that none of this stuff is going to get thrown away. None of it's going to get sent to the landfill. We are going to use it as a local resource to grow soil or grow mushrooms. I'll insert a picture right here of what this pomegranate tree looks like in the full swing of the fall, with it starting to produce fruit and all that. You'll see my son working the pomegranate tree. And this is a couple years ago. This isn't even last year. This is, I think, 3 seasons ago. But this pomegranate tree thrives on gray water and rainwater. That's all we use to feed or to water this tree. I do chop and drop like I'm showing you in this video, and we amend with fungal dominant compost that we make ourselves. So if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, give me a thumbs up, share this video with someone that could use this information. Please check out my Patreon account. I have videos that are exclusive only to my Patreon members. I also post articles on there on a weekly basis. It's a wealth of information for anyone trying to grow in the drylands. Thank you.